Good evening, and welcome to the Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 25th, 2018, in the boardroom. At this time, we will have the meeting called to order, and may we have the roll call, please?
Joan Franzoy.
Here.
Jeff Jar.
Here.
Brian Kelly.
Here.
Medina Atchison.
Here.
Sherry Budd.
Here.
Carol Thompson is excused. Donna Poynton.
Here. We have before us an agenda. Are there any questions or adjustments or changes for the agenda? If not, may I have a motion? Okay. Moved by Commissioner Atchison and supported by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we'll move right on ahead, and we have the minutes from the regular meeting of June 13th, and I understand we do have some corrections to those minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are two proposed corrections to the meeting minutes. I did give the Planning Commission an updated copy of the minutes for one of the corrections, but earlier, right before the meeting, we identified another one. So the first correction, which has already been changed in the updated minutes, is going to be found on page 3. It's at the last line of the first paragraph. The text originally stated that regarding the discussion we had with Harbor Club, that indicated that the DEQ would make final approval, which will be included as part of the site plan. The text has been revised to say that the applicant will have to demonstrate that gabion baskets are not feasible. Commissioner Jar actually brought it up to me earlier today. Them being able to demonstrate that feasibility was something that we discussed at the meeting and is also a requirement in the ordinance. So this is a correction that to make sure that we're being consistent with what's in the ordinance. The other item that we wanted to correct, which was brought up before the meeting, is on page 4, under general discussion. There's a statement which says that the Metro Park Party Store was granted setback variance at the June 12th BZA meeting. Also, the minutes state also there will be no truck deliveries between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. That sentence should be revised to also there will be no truck deliveries outside of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. as the applicants will only be having their truck deliveries between those hours, so that way they're getting their deliveries while no businesses are open on the site.
Okay, very good. Are there any other corrections or adjustments that need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion for the approval of the corrected minutes for the meeting of June 13th, 2018.
So moved. Seconded.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Jar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on through the agenda, is there any correspondence?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners? Hearing none for correspondence. We do not have any public hearings scheduled for this evening. We do not have any unfinished business at this point, and we'll move right on to new business. Item number 1, case number 18-022, site plan approval. The applicant, Brighter Building Company, is requesting site plan approval to reconstruct a set of stairs at the Bay Shore condominiums. The subject property is located on the township-owned property adjacent to the Bay Shore condominiums. At this time, we will have word from, yes, presentation by the applicant.
So what would you like the scope of the work? You want like an
Please.
overview of the scope of the work? So Bay Shore North is on Belleville Lake.
You can give us your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kurt Harvey.
Okay.
I'm VP of Brighton Building Company. Thank you very much. You know, we're here to ask him permission to build a staircase. The slope of the land on the lake shore is very steep. It's really not something you're going to walk up and down to the lake shore because of the way the lake shore is. So we've constructed several other staircases over the last 8 years or so. And basically, this is a continuation of what I would describe as their master plan to have access at intervals along the lake shore to get down to the waterfront for kind of equally for all residents of the community. So we're asking for your permission to continue with their, kind of their master plan to create the access points to the water.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much. We're going to continue on with the approval process, and if we have any questions, we'll probably call you back up.
All right.
Okay, thank you much. At this time, we have a presentation from staff, Director Akers.
Thank you. I'm going to go through the staff report we have dated July 21st, 2018 to give a hopefully brief overview of why the applicant's before us tonight and what some of the regulations that we consider when looking at these. The proposal is to remove and reconstruct a set of existing stairs at the Bayshore condos. This property is used for multiple family residential. Because this stairs fall on the Township Lake property, this falls under the Belleville Lake Shoreline District standards that are in the zoning ordinance. Because Bayshore is a non-single family residential use, which is adjacent to it, this falls under the guidelines for the BLB district for non-single family residential properties. So in that BLB district, the construction of stairs, because they're ripping out and removing, would be subject to Planning Commission approval. So that's why the application is before you today. It's a fairly simple application. They're simply taking an existing set of stairs, removing it, and replacing it in kind. But we still need to make sure that as it goes through, we're reviewing our development guidelines. We're making sure that they meet those development guidelines. So the section of the Lakeshore Ordinance has specific provisions regarding stairs, that it also has a set of approval criteria that we have to consider when we're looking at these applications. So with regards to stairs, I'll just kind of go through them individually as this is still relatively new, but one of the requirements under the specific regulation for stairs is that we allow stairs on the Township Lake property only if the township determines that's necessary for reasonable access. Our response to that is there's a current set of stairs in the proposed location. The applicant is requesting a remove and replace. There is an actual steep slope between the water's edge and the brow of the hill, and based on this and the existing staff finds that the stairs are necessary to access the water. There's a boardwalk and the docks run across much of Bayshore's property, and in order for the residents of the condos to reasonably access the water without having to walk several hundred feet to a dock, that's why they're placing the stairs at this location. The next requirement that the ordinance has is that to minimize physical impacts, such structures shall be limited to no more than one per lake frontage lot, or the number of dock clusters or number reasonably necessary to access the lake frontage, whichever is greater. And that it's also required to be included in the calculation for lake frontage. The current dock cluster, which is adjacent to the condos, is approximately 400 feet in length. There's one other stairway in this cluster of dock, but per the plans is located at the opposite end, the far southern end. The proposed placement of the stairs is located on the northern end of this dock cluster, so they are separate as they are several hundred feet apart. Based on the large length of the dock, replacing the stairs in the existing location, staff doesn't find the request unreasonable, but is reasonably necessary to access the dock cluster on the north side. The maximum allowed lot coverage for the frontage is 60% in the BL district, and we did provide a calculation in the staff report for lot coverage for the docks. So based on the calculation, the lot coverage for the entire cove, as the word Bayshore is, comes in at about 12.5%. So based on what's existing and based on our calculations, this zoning ordinance standard is very clearly met. And then the last standard in the specific stairway standards is that the stairs are required to be entirely above the normal high water mark. And in this indication, and as depicted in these drawings, the stairway is going to stay above the high water mark, so that standard has been met. Now, there are several approval criteria that are in the zoning ordinance. I'll go through them relatively quickly, but they have to demonstrate that they meet the general development requirements, which is what we discussed above, and they've met the standard. They can't interfere with the adjacent property owners or the public's use and enjoyment of the waters of Belleville Lake. Since the stairway's not going to extend into the lake, it's going to be completely on the shoreline. They're very clearly going to meet this issue. They're going to meet this standard. The other requirement is that the facilities are designed as to protect the neighboring property owners from negative off-site impacts. Again, this is several hundred feet away from any other properties, so we're not anticipating any issues with that. The structures won't create a risk to the health, safety, and welfare of persons who use Belleville Lake for recreational purposes or not interfere with safe navigation. As we indicated above, or in the prior item, it's going to be completely on the Township Lake property. It's not going to extend into the water. Will be constructed of materials which will not impair water quality, water flow, or water levels. It's going to be constructed of wood, which is a common dock material. So again, anticipate no issues there. The structure shall protect and enhance the scenic, recreational, environmental quality of Belleville Lake. The location of facilities shall be such that they will not create a negative visual impact for the general public. Again, they are replacing a set of stairs which need to be replaced, so if anything, it's going to be an improvement to the visual impact because they're going to be a brand new set of stairs which are compliant with not only the standards in the Lakeshore Ordinance but also the building code as well, so it'll be safer. The next standard talks about marinas and non-commercial multi-docking facilities have to be separated from one another to avoid overcrowding, excessive boat traffic. Again, it's a stairway construction. This standard doesn't apply, but because of that, they're compliant. And then consideration shall be given to maintaining consistency with the upland zoning and land use. There's an existing stairway. The property's zoned M1 for multiple family residential, and there's existing condominiums there. So based on that, a stairway down to the water would be consistent with the upland zoning and land use. And the last standard of approval we consider is that uses shall be consistent with the primary goal of permitting reasonable use by Belleville Lake residents and landowners. And I think this the stairs, are definitely meet this requirement as well. So based on that review, staff is recommending that the township grant site plan approval for the applicant, Brighton Building Company, to remove and reconstruct a stairway consistent with the provided plans. The only additional item that we added with the motion was that the approval should be based on the application's compliance with the approval criteria in the listed section of the zoning ordinance and the staff review letter dated July 21st, 2018. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Director Avery.
Thank you.
Any questions from the commission? Staff, any questions from the audience? I just have one quick thing, by my missing the last meeting, just looking at the one line as far as the gabion baskets and whether or not they're feasible and the demonstration thereof. I think we're good with that, just to be quick with it.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, we worked with Harbor Club to talk about, because they're doing a separate dock project. So they're doing a reconstruction of a dock and they're doing a seawall reinstallation. One of the questions that came up and was discussed was there's a provision in our zoning ordinance, and it's consistent with DEQ policy that if you're ripping out and replacing a seawall, the preferred method is a gabion basket, which is you essentially take fence poles and chain link fence and drive them into the lake, and then you backfill it with rock and stone.
Right.
So their proposal included a seawall, which is I believe it was a steel reinforced sheet wall, so it was different from that method. So their argument to us was that gabion baskets were unfeasible because because of the steepness of the slope. So one of the requirements for Harbor Club, not necessarily Bayshore, but Harbor Club, is that they're going to have to demonstrate to us when they come back for approval that the reasons why they can't use gabion baskets. So as it's a separate process, with regards to the stairs, we're
Okay,
we're
so
okay
that's
with that.
a little
Yeah.
separate. From,
Yes.
Okay, real good. Just want to make sure I was clear on that. Okay, very good. To our applicant, any other questions or concerns?
I heard everything you said. I'd like
Okay. With that, then, I would,
Excuse me, through the chair.
yes,
I
ma'am.
would like to ask the applicant a question about the staircase. On the caps, is there going to be lighting from the top of the staircase to no lighting? Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? With that, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Kelly?
I would move to grant site plan approval for the applicant, Brighton Building Company, to remove and reconstruct stairway to the water consistent with the provided plans in the packet. Approval should be based on the application's compliance with the approval criteria in section 3.120F4 and the staff review letter dated July 21st, 2018, and based on the analysis in that letter.
Support.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Kelly, and did you say Brighton or Brighter?
Writer.
Brighter, okay. I almost said Brighton earlier myself. I had to make sure I didn't hear that. Okay,
I believe I said Brighton, so it should be brighter.
okay, okay, very good. Motion by Commissioner Kelly, supported by Commissioner Atchison. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have a site plan approval. All right, congratulations. All righty. Okay, moving on with the agenda, we have moved to the portion of general discussion. Does anyone on the commission or from staff have anything to discuss?
I just have a few items that I wanted to go over with the planning commission really quickly. August 8th is looking to be a fairly busy meeting. There's going to be 3 public hearings, and there's also going to be a handful of preliminary site plan approvals and a couple other items. It's just the way the scheduling and the way applications were turned in, it looks like this is what we're going to be looking at. So I just want to give everybody an introduction while we have a short meeting, just so everybody's aware of what's going on. First item that I wanted to talk about is staff is bringing forward a proposal to make an amendment to the zoning ordinance to add data centers as a use to the M1 zoning district. And it's more of a clarification than anything else. In the past, we've permitted data center uses in the M1 district, and it hasn't been specifically called out in that district. There are other uses where it may fall under, but as we adopted the OT district, there is a specific data center use. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be simply requesting that the Planning Commission consider amending the zoning ordinance to add those data centers into M1. The use fits in with the district. Data centers, it fits within warehousing. They're usually very low truck volume, very low employee volume. The industrial districts usually have utility capacity to be able to handle it, so it's a very appropriate use for that district. The second item, ironically enough, there is a request for rezoning for a company. It's at the corner of Haggerty and Tyler Road. It would be the northeast corner. The property is currently zoned C1. It's master planned for an office light industrial use, and the current request is to rezone it to OT. I'm currently working with a company who's interested in putting a data center type use there. So their request is to rezone it to OT. That'll be before the Planning Commission on August 8th. Separately, the multi-tenant retail building, which was originally projected on Belleville Road just to the north of Bell Tire, they have a purchase agreement for the site to the north, which is Ms. Henderson's property, and they have reapplied for special land use approval and preliminary site plan approval. So they have a revised set of plans. The public hearing is scheduled for the 8th of August, and potentially there could be a recommendation for special land use and preliminary site plan approval if the Planning Commission chooses to do so. So that will all be before the Planning Commission on the 8th. The other item which will be before the Planning Commission on the 8th, and I know if members of the planning commission have been following the board meetings or have been following some of the the articles in the newspaper, we're working with a company on the Harold Smith farm who is looking at doing a automotive R&D type development on the property. The township board last week approved a development agreement with that company, which changes the site plan process a little bit to which allows them to get in the ground before winter. So they've split the site plan process into we've called it in the development agreement Phase 1 and Phase 2. So Phase 1 will be essentially the parking lot, the location of the building shell, berms, and the stormwater retention pond. And Phase 2 will be handled in 2 approvals like our normal site plan review process. There'll be a preliminary approval and a final approval, and it'll cover everything else. The reason why why the development agreement split the approval process into 2 separate processes is because it allowed for the applicant, after they receive Phase 1 site plan approval from the Planning Commission, it's going to allow the township to give them the ability to start doing land balancing, moving dirt around, and it's going to give the township the ability to issue a building permit for a build foundation and building shell. To offset some of the other concerns that we would have, one of the Phase 1 the development agreement requires that they post a performance bond for the value of the amount of trees that they're going to be planting around the perimeter of the property. To cover, in the event something does happen where if they put the building up and walk away, we'll have the ability to cash in that bond, plant trees to make sure there's sufficient screening for the properties which are adjacent to it. But that Phase 1 approval will be before the Planning Commission on August 8th. So I just wanted to prepare you guys for it. We have received site plans, our consultants are reviewing them right now. And that'll be just another agenda item that's before you on the 8th. So I apologize for loading the meeting up as much as it has. It's just unfortunately, we try to get these on the agenda as early as possible, and just so happened that all the timing came up where a number of these items all fell in the same meeting. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about the agenda or any of the items, but that's what's coming.
Okay. Again, outstanding. Anyone with anything else for general discussion from the commission?
Sir.
Anything from the audience on for general discussion?
Second.
That's my job. Having fun with it, Mary. Okay, motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Franzoy, supported by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 7:55 p.m.